Om. 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 Sahana vavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahviryam karavavahai, tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Vasudevendra Yogindram Natva Jnanapradam Gurum Mumukshunam Hitarthaya Tattva Bodho Abhidhiyate. All right. So we are back into our subject matter of Tattva Bodh. Find one more file. Sadhana Chatuштaya Sampanna Adhikarinam Moksha Sadhana Bhutam Tattva Viveka Prakaram Vakshyamaha. So we've talked about this particular verse already. We've spent some time looking at the context of how this is all set up. We've looked at the moksha, we've looked at the topic of purushartha, and we've now arrived at the verses of the Tattva Bodh. And the first part talks about adhikari tvam, the preparation needed in order to have this discussion about Tattva Bodh. And the first verse itself says, Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampanna Adhikarinam Moksha Sadhana Bhutam Tattva Viveka Prakaram Vakshyama. And you've seen all the word meanings of this. Now we're starting off with Sadhana Chatushtayam Kim. And I've explained to you the context on how the Tattva Bodha works, how it is followed by its questions, followed by answers, and so on. So Sadhana Chatushtaya Kim, the response to that is Nitya Anitya Vastu Vivekaha Iham Utrartha Phal Bhoga Viragaha Sham Adi Shatak Sampattihi Mumukshatvam Cha Iti. These are the four Sadhana Chatushtayam, the fourfold preparation. Right? There are four legs of the table. These are the four that are needed in order for the structure, for the understanding to be stable. I guess that's a good way to put it. For knowledge, for jnanam, for tattva bodh, bodh is understanding. For the knowledge of reality to be stable, you need to have these four legs on which it is standing. Nitya anitya vastu vivekaha, iham utrartha phal bhog viragaha, sham adi shatak sampattihi, and mumukshutvam, all four. And of course, that begs the question, what do we really mean by Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka? And we talked about this at length in previous classes. We talked about Nitya Vastu Ekam Brahma. Tad Vyatiriktaha Sarvam Anityam. Ayam Ev Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka. So we had a long discussion. I think multiple classes we've talked about what is meant by Ekam Brahma. Nitya Vastu Ekam Brahma tad vyatiriktam sarvam anityam. Besides that, everything else has on the time axis an emergence, a sustenance, and then a destruction, after which it no longer exists in that same form. And this discrimination is nitya anitya vastu viveka. And then we also acknowledge the fact that if you had 100% nitya anitya vastu viveka, then you would be fully understanding the knowledge itself, because Tattva Bodh is nitya anitya vastu viveka. So there is a preparation of the mind that allows you to say that I have some understanding of it, perhaps not complete. And then this is the second one that we need to start our discussion from today. It is about Viraga kaha. Of course, this is a very complicated topic. We're going to start talking about Viraga kaha. Pick up my pen so we can line as well. All right. So the second, you could say, leg of the table is what is Viraga? And of course, the student immediately asks, what is this Viraga? What is it? So the teacher answers, it is iha swarga bhogeshu ichha rahitya. He says that is what is Viraga. It is freedom from the desire to bhogeshu, experience what can be described as swarga or iha. So it's a freedom from the desire, freedom from the compulsion. I'm going to translate it as compulsion. Freedom from the compulsion to experience swarga and similar good results here in this world. What is the context of this verse? Iham putrartha phala bhoga viraga. That was the sadhana. Iha is here. Iham is here. Utrartha is hereafter. And it says, Iham utrartha phal bhoga viraga. Experiencing. Phal bhoga is experiencing the results. That may be good. Experiencing the results. Freedom from that is viraga. So, is that good for you? Or does this need some discussion? Iha swarga bhogeshu ichha rahityam. Ichha rahityam, freedom from, is ichha rahityam, absence of desire. That word for you? Iha swarga bhogeshu, in the enjoyments here in this world and hereafter.
What about desire for moksha?
You tell me. Should not have that one also. You know what doesn't have desires? The table. It has no desire to become a chair. It does not. Is that what we want to become? We want to become inanimate objects? That couldn't possibly be true. That can't be right. Is the goal here to become an inanimate object? No, the goal here is to become a great big sadhu who has no desires. Has a long beard, mine is not long yet, long beard, also a long face, because I have no desires. So, is that what we want? Is that what this possibly could mean? The importance here is the meaning of the word rag. It's a fantastic word, and it contains everything that we are trying to understand. What is raga? There you'll say that there are many ragas. Which raga do you want me to sing or play on my instrument? That's not that is one kind of raga. But this raga that is being talked about contains that and many more. It's part and parcel of this term rag and dvesha. It's actually two sides of the same coin, raga and dvesha. What is dvesha? Raga is if the desire to be near something. Dvesha is the desire to run away from something that you don't want. So there are things that you want, and then there are things that you don't want. Dvesha is a complete repulsion of a particular situation or a particular object or a particular experience. You don't want to experience that. And the word raga is typically used to represent both. So this happens in Sanskrit and in Vedanta often. When there is a pair of opposites, we will use one when we mean both, because it is understood that when one has come, the other one is also there. Fair enough. So sometimes the word ityadi is not used, etc. is not used. Just using the leading of the two pair is considered to be an explanation that both are being. So what is the meaning of the word raga? In simple words, the meaning of the word raga could be understood as color. Color. The color of passion, the color of desire that gets added to a particular situation. And so viraga, does that mean the absence of color? We'll see in a moment what that means. Iha swarga bhogeshu ichha rahityam. The word ichha rahityam is sometimes translated as absence of desire. A better translation of it is freedom from the compulsion or obsession. Freedom from the compulsion or obsession. So do you want to talk about this a little bit to see what this really means, viraga? Because it's an often used, sometimes misunderstood term. What does it possibly mean? It is one of the four important legs of the table. So we have to understand what it could possibly mean. Any ideas, any suggestions to what is a good desire? Absolutely, there are many, many, many desires that are very, very good. Taking care of people, doing what you need to do, a desire to follow your dharma, a desire to do your karma. Those are all desires, aren't they? Are we saying that we want to have freedom from those desires? Then why will an individual ever do their karma, or why will they ever follow dharma if they have no desire to do so? Couldn't possibly mean that, can it?
Professor, is it like in karma yoga, it says you have the desire to do the action, but after the action is done, you give up the results of the action. So is it in the similar sense where you are giving up the results of your enjoyments? I mean, that is what the compulsion is. You're not compelled to get the result of the action. You just do the action. So
fair enough. That's a good explanation. A higher level explanation that actually relates the topic of karma yoga to the topic of viraga. So far, we're only talking about viraga. So, for example, when I have a sip of this liquid, the taste of it is in my mouth. Can I prevent that? I cannot. I cannot prevent the taste from appearing in my mouth and in my mind, and I cannot change how I feel about it. You may love coffee, and you may hate coffee or you may be indifferent towards it, but the emotion is coming right along with it. Fair enough. And you may like your coffee with cream and with sugar, and somebody may not. And those are all various possibilities that are going to be there. Can I sip the coffee and say I give up the taste? Or my enjoyment of the coffee? Yeah, I can enjoy the coffee while saying that I have given up it. Nothing more more controversial or two-faced about that. I'm drinking the coffee, I'm saying, but I am not enjoying it. I have given up the enjoyment of the coffee. How does that even work? So the question becomes, what does Viraga mean in this context? And I would say that the best way to understand Viraga is putting things in their proper place. Putting things and experiences in their proper place and in their proper context. That is Viraga. I've always advocated for this understanding of Viraga because other understandings can become obsessive, they can become compulsive, and sometimes you can go too much to the left or too much to the right of walking what is exactly meant. Putting things / experiences in their proper context. In their proper place. What is the proper place? When you take a sip of this particular liquid, what else can it taste like besides coffee? Nothing. It is coffee. It is going to taste like. And it is a stimulant, and it will stimulate your mind. If you are asleep or feeling sleepy, it'll wake you up for a few minutes. That's what it does. That is its property. When you look at the truth of it, that's all that coffee is capable of doing. Once I understand that, am I going to be obsessed with a particular flavor of coffee or a particular time of coffee or a particular location? I only need to go to Starbucks and I only need to order the X, Y, and Z recipe of coffee that I want. Perhaps 1 in 10 days, that's what I really want to do. And I can do it because I have the ability to do so and I have the resources to be able to do so. But the days that I don't want it and I don't need it, I'm absolutely fine with not wanting it. In a way, I have understood that coffee is coffee and it fits a role in my life on a day-to-day basis. It is a stimulant that I usually consume when I want to wake up and I'm feeling sleepy or I'm feeling exhausted. I need a little more drive to keep going. Nothing more, nothing less. It is not a magical drink. It is not going to change who I am as a person. It is not going to fill my heart with satisfaction. It is not going to make me feel complete, purnam. Maybe for an instance, when I take that first sip, I go, that's perfect. That's about it. It lasts about 1 second. But it is not something that is going to make me complete. It is just what it is. It has its attributes. It does what it is supposed to do. And having done its job, it goes away. In a way, I understand that all experiences are just like Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka. They come, they stay, they go. I don't go with them. I don't go away with them. And they don't come with me. They come, they stay, they go. And that's what they are. There is a fact to their existence. There is a fact to what they can and cannot do, there is a fact to their limitations. Every experience is limited by itself, right? When you are experiencing right now my sound and voice, it is a limited experience. At this time, you cannot be experiencing another movie, right? Can't have two at the same time. You can experience one. Sometimes you can multitask. People say I multitask, but that's not true. If you look at it, they've actually paused the other thing when they're paying attention to the one. Because you can't absorb two things at the same time. You need to focus on one thing. The experience is the definition of its own limitation. And by something that is limited is always going to be and remain limited. My understanding of the limitation of that experience provides the proper context for putting it in place. I have an ambition, let's say, to find a very nice job after I complete my studies. It's an absolutely legitimate desire, appropriate even. In fact, it is necessary. Why did you go through so many years of schooling if not to find proper employment so that you may use the skills that you have collected in order to make the world a better place? Would you say that that desire should be given up? That makes no sense. All of these years of study and all of these years of action that have been invested into it, absolutely. But I also understand that that job and that career is a part of my life. It is not my life. I will still need to sleep 8 hours a day, 7 hours a day, or 6 hours a day, whatever makes you comfortable. And for that, I will need a house or an apartment. And that will also be a part of my life. It will not be my complete life. None of these things are going to be my complete life. They're all parts of my life. Things that are essential, things that I desire, they will complete my life in a certain way, give me the complete experience. And even if I have every single detail of my life worked out, none of them are going to be nitya vastu. They will all be anitya. They will never leave me with purnatvam. They cannot, they are limited themselves. The collection of many finite things is not going to help me understand the infinite. When I understand what things are, what experiences are, and I can put them in their proper place and context, obsession goes away. Compulsion goes away. And the color that I was adding to the situation because of my subjectivity fades away. The color was what I added to the situation. Everybody needs to eat breakfast. That I will only eat a particular type of breakfast cereal that I can only find in a certain store, that's something else. That's your color, your subjectivity that you've suddenly added to the experience, which was quite commonplace to begin with. I may or may not find that breakfast because the world is a very big and complicated place. Today, I may reach my destination, tomorrow I may not. It may be a desire that gets fulfilled today, and tomorrow it may not be a desire that gets fulfilled. I cannot be compelled by these desires. I understand what is needed, and I understand what is essential for the jiva to function. And at the same time, I have the ability to discriminate between what is essential and what is optional, but preferred, right? I have a preference. I have no problem with preferences. There are 10 types of cereals that are available in the market. I have a preference, but I don't have an obsession with one. Preference, absolutely fine, because it is the color of your individual mind. You know, some people like to eat rice with curd at the end of a meal. Absolutely fine. It's a preference. It's a preference that has emerged, by the way. There was a time when this preference was not there. Perhaps you may not remember that time because you only used to drink milk. And there is a time when this preference will go away for whatever reason. It is a preference that comes, stays, and goes as the objects of the universe are revealed to us. And preferences are absolutely fine. Compulsion that my meal is not done until absolutely rice and curd is served to me. And if it is not served to me, everything else in the world is garbage. That's something else. You've added a color into the situation which does not work. You've added your own subjectivity and imposed it upon the world. Yeah, that's raga and dvesha. Now you are set up in the world of reactions. So, viraga ka, what is the absence, or I should say, freedom from compulsion? In my opinion, it is the ability to understand what is this, iha, and what is that, swarga. They are limited experiences. They can be awesome experiences, but even while an awesome experience is present, by its definition, it is limiting. Because it's an experience. While you are having it, you cannot have another one. That means that it is finite. Contained within itself, it is. Whether it is here or hereafter, all experiences are limited. And the freedom from the compulsion to have those experiences, while continuing to have a preference for them, is viraga. It's emotional maturity. You may have all remembered your favorite toy when you were a child. Absolutely favorite. Some of us had a favorite blanket. Some of us had a favorite stuffed animal. Some of us had a favorite toy car. Some of us had a favorite cricket bat. Some of us had many, many varieties of different things that you loved as a child. Where are they now? Are you still obsessed with them? No. But there was a time when if I took away the bat from the hand of the child, that child would throw a tantrum. And that tantrum throwing child was also me. Right? There was a time when I took it away from your hand and you would have thrown a tantrum. You would have invoked parents, relatives, neighbors, everybody in the world to say, no, no, that's mine, please give it back to me. Where is that bat now? Are you still attached to it? Are you still obsessed with it? The answer is no, take it, I don't care. I may wish to preserve it. I may say, please don't break it. It has some favorite memories attached to it. Those are subjective to me. I may wish to preserve it, but I'm not going to throw a tantrum in that. What happened? What happened? We grew out of it because human beings grow. We stop growing physically, but we continue to grow intellectually. We may stop growing intellectually, but we continue to grow emotionally. And that growth should never stop. And as you grow, you realize, I don't need to be invested in these things anymore. I can let it go. The ability to let it go is viraga. Why did I let it go? Because I understood what it is. I understood the limitations of what it is. I understood that I value it. I respect the fact that I value it. But that doesn't make it an object of my session. It's a valuable thing. Fair enough. But it is not something that I'm going to obsess over because I understand how it is linked. So Viraga is the ability to see things for what they are, along with the subjectivity of it. We explain. Not saying that we almost always look at the objectivity of things. That would make you somewhat emotionally stunted. The process here is emotional growth, not stunting. Emotions are not to be suppressed, they are to be understood. You are expected to go through them and understand them so that they don't pull on your heartstrings like crazy. You've been there before. You've experienced this once. And so you understand, yep, I'm going to be down for a few days. I'm going to be very blue because I've had an experience that was not to my liking. But I understand that in spite of that experience, I will persist. I will continue to be myself. In fact, I'll learn from this difficult experience as well and become a better person. The ability to understand things for what they are is Viraga. Not only the objective reality of the object, but also its subjectivity. This is very important. Objectivity is the value that the whole world agrees upon for a given object, right? So if you look at an object, everybody, the whole world will agree with you that this is its objective value. Everybody agrees with it. And then subjectivity is something special to you. I'll give you an example. A shirt. Yes, a new shirt is appropriately priced and available in the stores. Now, different stores may disagree upon their pricing and may have different profit margins and so on, but you know that it's going to be priced somewhere within $1 and $100. Somewhere in that range would fall the value of a shirt. And that is its objective value. So if you can find it for an economic price for yourself, good for you. And if you are in a situation where you need to change your shirt because you spilled coffee on it and you're going to an interview, even $100 is not going to be expensive because you need it at that instant in time. But those are objective values of the object. But now I'll tell you that this shirt is the one that your father left for you. You inherited it after, God forbid, as a memorabilia, something that was left for you as part of your inheritance. What is the subjective value of this shirt? You'll never wear it. You'll always keep it. Someday you'll take it out of your, shelf, put it on, take a picture, and so that it doesn't get dirty, you'll wrap it up and put it back away. It's tremendous subjective value to me because it's yours. It is something very special to you. Nobody can tell its subjective value except you. That is your pratibhasika satyam. The vyavaharika satyam of the shirt is it's $1 to $100. The pratibhasika satyam of that shirt is invaluable. It is special to you. Acknowledging that there is a subjective value to the shirt as well, which cannot be calculated. It is what it is. It is part of my growth as a human being. Allows me to acknowledge, yes, this is a shirt that I would like to preserve. And now somebody was ironing this shirt and did something bad by mistake. Yes, objectively you lost something, subjectively you lost something that is incalculable, but at the same time, you understand putting things in their own perspective, in their proper place or context. It was a shirt. It's not going to bring back the person who left it for you. It only helps you remember them, doesn't conjure them back up. I can become obsessed with it. The color that I'm putting into that experience is mine. I added it. I added the color. You know, an expensive shirt is an expensive shirt, but the subjectivity is the color that I add to it. And sometimes that color is legitimate, and sometimes that color can be illegitimate based on incorrect understanding and incorrect notions. No matter what it is, in any given experience, I'll have an objective side to it, a subjective side to it. As long as I can understand them both, and I can acknowledge that they are both what they are, and they are both limited, I will be able to say, Viraga. Freedom from the compulsion of my desires, because I can put things and experiences in their proper place or context, gives me the freedom to say, yeah, I'm okay with it. It's very difficult. I don't like this experience. I have lost something that is subjectively very dear to me, but I'll be okay. I'll be okay. That is what Viraga is being talked about, in my opinions. Iha swarg bhogeshu ichharahityam. Swarga, as we talked about last time, Swarga Loka is the correct full term of it, is an experience of all good things. Whether whether they happen today or tomorrow, whether they occur in location and space here or somewhere else, they will continue to remain an experience. And by definition, that experience will continue to remain, to be limited. And a certain space between me and my reaction to that experience is Viraga. It is also emotional growth. As you grow up, you realize, yeah, I can put this in perspective. I can have a little perspective and put it in. That is Viraga. I'm going to pause here and open it up for some questions.
Professor, what would be the best way to achieve Viraga in one's life?
You made me move ahead in the slide set, because that's what the next slide set is going to talk about. It is going to talk about it, but in simple words, you want to understand things, experiences as they are occurring for what they're worth, to understand their true place in the world and their true place in your life as well. Putting things in the proper context. So in a way, the answer is so simple, vichar. Vichar is the source of Viraga. Because what these Raga Dvesha do is that they set up reactions in the individual. Reactions. What is a reaction? It's an emotional reaction. Sometimes the word has been used, samskaras. Samskaras get programmed in the human mind. It's very common. If you do the same thing 100 times, your mind responds to that situation in the same way. And ragas and dveshas, what they do is they pre-program samskaras. What ends up happening, and this is where it gets tricky in the world of psychology. Human beings identify themselves with their raga dveshas. So they start telling you, I am like this, and I'm not like that, and I do this, and I don't do that, and this makes me feel good, this does, and there's a long list. If you let them talk, they will talk for hours about the things that they like and they dislike. They'll keep telling all of those things to you, and you're just sitting there listening. Is this list ever going to end, or is this going to continue for a long time? And it usually is an endless list, because while they're talking, they're making new ragas. And what they do is they set up reactions in your mind, in the sense that when you see something or an experience occurs, your mind reacts instantly to it. It's very interesting.
I think one common observation that I've seen is that whatever comes in contact with our five senses tempts us to do certain things.
Yes.
So I think those temptations are the only thing. So we have to keep our senses in our control, basically, I guess.
Water also makes contact with your tongue, but it is not an obsession. Water is absolutely essential. So I wouldn't say that everything that provides a stimulus to your sensor is necessarily a source for obsession. But definitely the reactions gets it. Now there's something very interesting about the reactions. You had a question there? I have a student called, you've switched on your video cam, so I was curious if you had a question.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Sneha. I have a question about, is there a difference between yoga and Viraga?
Fair enough. That's a good question. I'll come back to that in just a moment after I make my point, right? So I was telling you about raga, dveshas, and the reactions. Now there's something very interesting about reactions and how the situation gets muddled that I want to point out to you. Have you memorized tables, multiplication tables? Right? We were all told, you grew up in India, you were supposed to have multiplication tables till, first they made us learn them till 10, then 12, then 13, and then eventually 19. Some of us had them memorized to 20, which is quite amazing, right? And they want it memorized so that you don't have to think. It just is a reaction. I ask you what is 2 times 5 and you'll know the answer right away. And that's great. That's great, by the way. It's very useful when you're doing fast calculations or when you're doing something, or for that matter, memorizing the meanings of words and so on. There's so many languages that people have acquired, and a lot of it has got to do with the fact that you can program your mind to be reactive. In a way, if you look at it, you are not analyzing the meaning of the words I'm saying. The meanings are appearing instantly to you because you've learned the language I speak. The sound is not registering in your ear. The words are. And the words are not really registering, the meanings are. Because a reaction has been set up. Samskaras have been set up so that everything occurs instantly. So that I don't want to villainize samskaras. I want you to appreciate the fact that I'm not villainizing them. I'm not saying that they are not good. In fact, they are the backbone of our ability to learn. They're a backbone. They're an important aspect for us to be able to learn and, learn advanced concepts and be able to build upon them. The periodic table, a lot of us had to memorize that. And now I can tell you exactly where things sit because I remember them. It's a reaction that has been set up. It's a very good part of being a human being. It is a power of the human mind. And with every sword, there are 2 edges. And the fact that you are, let's say that I'll assume for a moment, since you're all here at Purdue, you're all very intelligent, very blessed with tremendous intellect, which means that your intellects are quite reactive. You will remember and memorize things very fast. The other side of the coin is that the raga dveshas will get set up equally fast. The attraction, the repulsion to things, experiences, objects goes hand in hand. One is the intellectual part of the samskara, the other is the emotional part of the samskara. None of them have to be rejected. They only have to be understood. I don't have to destroy samskaras. No. You just need to understand them. That this is the preference that I have. And given a different set of circumstances and a different set of parents and a different set of evolution, my preferences could be different. I like sambar and rice. I'm born in a different family in a different part of the world. I may have liked corn on the cob. And so I'm able to put that in perspective, that just as I can memorize things and I remember them, I've also got these ragas and dveshas that have been set up in my psyche. I set them up. Nobody else. The world participated, but I set them up. There was a time when they were not there. Your favorite game on your iPhone, there was a time you didn't know about that game. Now you play it with instinct and move your fingers as fast as they want. It's fine. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. It is what it is. It is a game. It's not going to change your life. It will entertain you for 15 seconds while you play. Your mind is absorbed in it for a few seconds, giving you the kind of emotional relief that you need after a stressful day. It is what it is. The ability to put things and experience in their proper place or context comes from vichara. So the source of vairagya can be vichara. The ability to think, to take a moment, to sit down and say, I really want to think about what is going on. Why do I do the things that I do? Sit down, close your eyes, think about things. Hey, isn't that meditation? Yeah. There is mantra meditation. That is one kind of meditation. There are other forms of meditation as well. Doing mantra meditation is not necessarily going to help you assimilate your experiences. In order to assimilate your experiences, you will have to do vichara on them. This is very important. Meditation is very important because it trains your mind to give you the space between ragas and dveshas. Rather than reacting to the situation, reacting to the experience, it gives you one millisecond. 1 microsecond is enough. If you can have that space between you and your anger, if you can have that space between you and your obsession, 1 millisecond. Meditation can help you get that 1 millisecond. It's all about that one instant in time, which allows me to say, stop for a moment. I need to think. Meditation doesn't do the thinking for you, okay? It gives you the additional microsecond so that now you can do vichara on what is the right thing to do. How does this fit within the context of my life? Is this something that I need to be obsessed about or not? And believe me, it's not easy. The hardest thing to do is vichara. Unfortunately, human beings, we love the reactions of raga and dvesha. I don't have to think. It's mechanical. And if I'm doing it intellectually, I look like a genius. Right? This guy doesn't even have to think. He knows all the answers. Yeah, it's a two-edged sword. It's a two-edged sword. The ability to think, viveka, the ability to be able to think and discriminate, that requires 1 microsecond between you and how you're feeling. That is obtained through meditation. That is obtained through yoga. Yoga itself prepares you to be able to do vichara, but doesn't bless you with viraga. Viraga is something that you will create out of your own head. Because the samskaras, you programmed them, and nobody else programmed them. Yes, other people were there. They participated. You can't blame them for it. It was your head. It was your mind in which the reactions got set up. And you can unprogram them. And you really, I want to be very clear. You don't need to destroy anything. You don't need to break anything. All you need to do is understand. When you understand something, it loses its power over you because it can no longer compel you. When you are not compelled by it, it loses its power over you. The reason you will not break out into a tantrum when I take away your favorite toy now is because you understand the experience. You may not have crystallized it in words yet, but that's why you'll be like, yeah, it's okay. I don't care. It's not I don't care. It's like I understand what it is. I understand how it fits into the grand scheme of things, and that blesses me with the ability for Viraga. I am not free of desires. I am free from the compulsion of desires. I understand what the desire is. I have been able to put desire within its perspective. It is a part and parcel of being a human being. Desires are important. Desires are needed in order to do great things, important things. But that is what they are. They are desires. They are not you. They cannot possess you. It seems like they can, but they can't. Because if you had that 1 microsecond of time where you'd be able to say, I understand, this is my desire. Let me give it a moment to understand whether this is the right thing for me to do. Everybody acts. Well, Krishna Bhagavan will tell you, you have to act. There's no choice on this matter. As long as you're a living being, you should act, and you need to act. Give yourself a moment to think about it, and you will have Viraga. The ability to understand this is the objective truth of the experience, and this is the subjectivity that I'm bringing to it, based on my life experiences. And that subjective value may be good. Please don't rip that shirt. It's valuable to me. It's absolutely legitimate thing to say, because it is yours. You have some subjective memories in it. And if someone by mistake did something terrible to it, you understand what it is. It was an object that invoked memories. Nothing can be done to bring it back. So, in answer to the question, is Viraga and yoga the same? Yoga is a very big thing. We haven't quite touched the topic of yoga. We will. Yoga is a very big thing. It's a word that is used to describe a variety of things. So I'm not going to say, I think we defined Viraga, and I think I provided enough context for you to understand what I meant. So I'm not going to define yoga right now, because that will take a lot of time. And it's also a catch-all term that includes a lot of stuff. So I'm not going to talk about it. I hope that's okay.
Professor,
All right.
Professor, what about Vairagya and Viraga? Like, are they the same? Viraga,
They're same.
they're same, right? Okay.
All right. With this, I think we are at a very good stopping point, because our next pillar is going to be Sham Adi Shatak Sampattihi. So we'll do that next time. And then we'll do Mumukshutvam Cha Iti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.